the next thing I wanted to ask you about, and how I found your channel was the story. I think you have a very unique story of how you met Virgil and had him sign your shoe and got to show him some designs.
Yeah, that was a crazy experience. That was right when my that was maybe when I had like 30 or 40,000 subscribers. It was pretty early on.
Yeah.
So basically what happened was in 2017 there was right before Virgil was releasing all the Off-White stuff, they were having like random, they call them office hour events around the country. And the way that you would enter is like you'd go on the Sneakers app. Do you guys have the Sneakers app?
No, we hear about it all the time. Most of the guys I follow are Americans, so I always see like,
Right.
I took another L. I've also never won a raffle. I've had to pay resale for every single pair of shoes, aside from like occasionally like Stadium Goods or StockX will do something. But yeah, everyone's got that one friend that wins every single pair of shoes, and they've already got like 10 of them at retail.
It's nuts. It's frustrating, and it was the same way with the office hours things. You had to enter like basically through a raffle. I didn't win any of those. What happened was I went on the website one day at work and I was scrolling through it like for the office hour events, and there was one event that wasn't full, and I was wondering why that was. So I clicked on the info, and it turned out in order to enter this event, you had to write an essay on why you deserve the chance to talk to Virgil about design. And I was like, well, sick. I'm literally a professional designer. I could do this. So I wrote this essay. I sent it in, not expecting anything. And then the next day, I got this letter back that said that me and 10 other people won the chance to actually go meet with him. So we went in, and the crazy thing about this event was that this was one of the only events where not only you could meet him, but you could also buy the shoes. Like all the other events were just like time slots for people to come in and like check out the shoes on the wall and stuff.
The Chicago's?
Chicago, everything.
Oh,
yeah,
so
Chicago.
lucky.
It was like it was nuts. But oh man, so I go in. It was I got its time slot on like the first of the 2 days that they let the 10 people in. And I was the last person for that day. And so what they had you do when you first walk in is they give you this list of all the sneakers that they had, and you rank them in order of which one that you want to buy, and then you write like your size and things like that, and then they give you a random one based on like what their stock is.
Yeah.
So I obviously put the Chicago's at number 1, and I think the Prestos at number 2, and Blazers and all sort of good stuff. And so they didn't tell me what shoe I got until literally I went to go pick it up. But I just sat there all day waiting for something to happen, and Virgil just left. And I was like, what the hell? That's crazy. So I talked to one of the people who were running the events, and she was like, yeah, he had to run and go do something. Like, I'm sorry. And she's like, if you want to come back tomorrow, you can. And I was like, okay, well, can I at least still buy the pair of shoes that I was supposed to be able to buy? And she's like, fine, whatever. So I go to the counter to buy them. And the guy in front of me is trying to get the Chicago's, and he's also a size 9, and he's like, oh, are there any of the Chicago's left? And they're like, no, not any size 9s. So I quickly go on my sheet and change it to a size 8.5, because I assumed there'd probably be more 8.5s. And I can sort of fit an 8.5. So then when I handed the guy my sheet, he took it, and he somehow came back with the size 8.5 of the Chicago. So I got a pair, which was amazing. Then I go home that night, film the review, and then I'm like, okay, well, I've got another chance to meet with Virgil tomorrow. I should bring the shoe back and see if he would sign it, because the way that the event was set up is you talk to Virgil first, and then you buy the shoes, so you never have a chance to actually have him sign them. So I brought back one side of the pair the next day, and I finally got my chance to meet with him. And then after the interview, I pulled it out and I was like, yo, can you sign this for me? And he did, which is dope. He wrote Air Fowler, which is incredible. He didn't write Virgil was here, which is kind of frustrating because some people didn't believe that it was
Did
a real
you write it
thing,
on the
so they
shoe?
watched the vlog.
I mean, you have a photo.
I could write it on the shoe. Yeah, I do have a photo, which helps. But yeah, no, it was an incredible experience, and he's just, I mean, I'd followed him a little bit, but I wasn't like a huge Virgil fan at the time. And just hearing sort of his experience and him giving advice on just how to explore and continue to grow in the design space was really cool.
What was some of that advice that he gave you?
I honestly don't remember it, but I do have. They gave me this little. They let you record it on this little like recorder because he wasn't allowing people to be filmed. Like I tried to bring my camera, they wouldn't.
We'll put the interview on the the link to the video and the audio clip as well.
Oh, sick! Awesome. It was. I think it was something like I was talking about how I was currently designing dog toys at BarkBox at the time, and how I was like really interested in the whole manufacturing process of like how expensive it was to create rubber molds and things like that.
Yeah.
And just hearing him talk about his sort of experience with fashion and stuff, it was pretty cool. It was pretty incredible.
Yeah, I think with Virgil, there was like different phases of his career. There was the Pyrex Off-White, which was like the big one, and after Adidas was doing all these like crazy collabs, the first like big one was the Nike 10-pack, because eventually Adidas started making very large runs of some shoes. I remember I bought the Zebras, and I traded like quite a few big pieces in the collection to get the Zebras when they first came out. Like they must have been worth maybe about $2,000 at the time, and they ended up releasing like they originally only going to release what I heard was about 7,000 pairs. So I was like, okay, I got to get one. And eventually they just did a widespread release. I went to Milan, Italy in 2018, and I walked by the Adidas store or the Foot Locker store, and they're like asking people to try it on. And out there, people dress like very like classy, tailored business stuff. Not a single pair was selling. It was just like, come try it on and see if you like it. So that was probably one of my biggest sneaker L's. But eventually, the Nike 10 pack, it was great. Like, it was very simple. But I think I saw the Harvard interview the Harvard speech by Virgil, and the way he talks about things, like he talks relatively slowly, but he picks his words very precisely that you're able to like soak in every word, and you feel like it's so valuable, and you really have to like listen into it. And I think he mentioned something about how whenever he does like a collaboration, he only wants to change 3% of the original design. And with the 10 pack, it was like that. It was like the deconstructed look, and at first it's sort of like, well, that's very expensive for a simple pair. But then I think over time, at least in my case, the Jordans, the significance of it really came out, like the deconstructed look. Obviously, I'm guessing the Chicagos are your favorite piece of the collection.
Yeah.
But what did you show Virgil in that interview?
Well, I gave him a business card, which apparently no one else had done, which I thought was kind of crazy. I always carried around little business cards. I was like, yo, yeah, right. I was like, yo, if you ever want any like rubber manufactured, hit me up.
Yeah,
and he didn't.
Pro
But,
right
like, I
there.
thought I'd try. I talked about. I showed him some of my sneakers that I had customized, and I talked about just. I before that I had worked in kitchenware at this place out in Long Island, designing like stuff for Farberware and a little bit of KitchenAid. And I'd shown him some of that stuff. I made this coffee press that I was really proud of. But I just showing him my portfolio and talking through it with him was pretty cool, and getting his insight. And it's interesting how much my sort of design career changed after that conversation. I wouldn't say because of that conversation, but I would say just because of the way that YouTube turned out, which is actually, I guess in a roundabout way, it was because of that conversation, because the same way that you found that video, that was the first time you had seen me, a lot of people found me that way. That was actually, I think, one of the most pivotal moments in my YouTube career, which I never realized would be the case, but it was, and that was definitely a pretty incredible experience.